On my first day at the new base, I saw my husband's picture on another woman's desk. Not hidden, not tucked inside a folder, displayed proudly in a silver frame beside a vase of white roses and a wedding planner opened to October. The woman behind the desk smiled at me like we were already friends. That's my fiancé," she said. "Handsome, isn't he?"
I had been married to Nathan Keller for 15 years. For 3 seconds, every sound in the office disappeared. The printer, the phones, the voices in the hallway, all gone. My name is Colonel Grace Keller. I had spent 22 years in uniform learning how to stay calm when panic entered the room. So I did not scream. I did not touch the photo. I did not tell her that the man she was planning to marry still had a wife. I looked at the ring on her finger, recognized the diamond my husband had called a business investment, and asked one quiet question. "How long have you known him?" She smiled. 4 years, she said. "We're getting married this fall." Break time. Her name was Lauren Hayes. She was a civilian project coordinator assigned to the same modernization unit I had just joined. She was not cruel. She was not trying to hurt me. That made the moment worse. "You know Nathan?" she asked. I looked at the photograph again. Nathan stood beside her on a marina dock, one arm around her waist, wearing the linen shirt I had bought him for our anniversary. He looked relaxed, younger, free. "He looks familiar," I said. That was the first lie I told that morning. It was also the last lie I told to protect him. Lauren laughed softly. "He knows a lot of people around defense, contracting, strategic consulting. He says the military world is small." On her desk, beneath the photo, was a printed invitation proof. "Nathan James Keller and Lauren Elizabeth Hayes request the honor of your presence." I felt my wedding ring press into my finger. Then her engagement ring caught the light. 3 months earlier, Nathan had taken $38,700 from our joint investment account. He told me it was seed money for a new consulting opportunity. He said the window was urgent and the return would help our retirement. The diamond on Lauren's hand was not an investment. It was evidence. I spent the rest of the morning doing what the Army had trained me to do. I completed the briefing. I learned the chain of responsibility. I shook hands. I asked questions. I took notes. No one in that room knew that while they were discussing logistics dashboards and contractor timelines, my marriage was collapsing 2 chairs away from me. At lunch, Lauren asked if I wanted to see the cafeteria. I said yes. Part of me needed to know how much of my life Nathan had rewritten. Over black coffee and a salad, I never finished. She told me they had met at a defense acquisition symposium 4 years earlier. "He was so kind," she said. "He said he was rebuilding after a painful divorce." I set my cup down carefully. A painful divorce. Lauren kept talking. He said his ex-wife chose the Army over him, that he understood service, but he could never be married to a woman in uniform again. There it was. The story. A lonely husband abandoned by a cold colonel. A good man starting over. A victim. I had spent 15 years trying to balance duty and marriage, and he had turned my service into the reason he betrayed me. After lunch, I walked to my temporary office, closed the door, and gave myself 90 seconds. For 90 seconds. I let my hand grip the back of a chair. For 90 seconds. I let the grief come. For 90 seconds. I stopped being a colonel and became only a woman who had just learned her husband had built another life. Then I straightened. Panic is information, not an order. I opened a notebook and wrote 4 words at the top of the page. Verify, do not chase. Break time. That night, Nathan called at 8:17. "Hey, Gracie," he said. "How was the first day?" His voice was perfectly normal. That was the most frightening thing about it. "Busy," I said. "New building, new people. Anyone interesting?" I looked at Lauren Hayes' name in my notebook. "A few." He chuckled. "You always sound like you're filing a report." He told me he was in Richmond for a client dinner. Lauren had told me he was in Arlington that night, finalizing details for their engagement party. "What kind of client?" I asked. "A procurement group. Boring stuff." Boring stuff. That was the phrase he used whenever he wanted me to stop asking questions. After we hung up, I did not call him back. I did not call Lauren. I did not drive to Arlington. Anger makes people careless. I refused to make his defense for him. The next morning, I called Major Olivia Reeves.
No raised voice.
"Grace," she said, "what happened?"
Just a steel door shutting. Nolan blinked. "I'm sorry?"
"I know. Do not access anything that belongs only to him. Joint accounts, shared property records, public filings, open source information, clean hands." "I know." "Document everything, dates, times, statements, and Grace?" "Yes?" "He will try to turn your calm into cruelty. Document your calm too." I wrote that down. Document your calm. Over the next 11 days, I built a file. Not a revenge file, a truth file. There is a difference. Revenge wants pain. Truth wants light. The first layer was money. The $38,700 for the ring was only the beginning. There were transfers labeled vendor consulting, emergency travel, partnership retainers, a loan. Each one seemed explainable. Together, they formed a pattern. $12,460 to a luxury furniture warehouse in Arlington. $9,800 to an event planner. $75,000 wired as a deposit on a coastal house in Virginia Beach. The property agreement was public. Buyer, Nathan James Keller. Marital status, unmarried. I stared at that word for a long time. Unmarried? Not separated, not divorced, not pending. Unmarried. 15 years erased in 9 letters. Break time. Then I found Keller Meridian Group, a strategic consulting company registered 2 months earlier. Its mission statement used phrases Nathan had heard from my briefings for years: readiness, transformation, logistics, resilience, defense modernization, operational trust. He had built a business using the language of my career. Founder, Nathan Keller. Operations, Director, Lauren Hayes. Equity clause, 25% to Lauren upon marriage. Upon marriage. I printed it and placed it in the folder. Then came the photographs. Lauren's social media was public. Weekend trips Nathan had called site visits. Restaurant dinners he had called contractor meetings. A beach proposal posted while I had been in San Antonio, briefing a readiness panel. The caption read, 4 years of loving you, forever to go. I had been married to him for 15. Every piece hurt differently. The money made me angry. The documents made me cold. He had not made one mistake. He had built an alternate life, brick by brick, using my trust as cover and our assets as material. On the 12th day, Lauren stopped me in the hallway. "Colonel Keller, can I ask you something personal?" I turned. Her usual brightness was gone. She held a stack of folders against her chest, knuckles pale. "What did Nathan tell you about his divorce?" I asked before she could continue. Her face changed. "He said it was finalized years ago, but some financial issues were complicated because of his ex-wife's military benefits. I nodded slowly. That is a serious thing to misrepresent. Do you think he's lying? The question hung between us. If I were you, I said, I would ask for documents, not explanations. Her eyes searched mine. Do you know something? I know facts matter. Then I walked away before compassion turned into a mistake. That afternoon, Olivia reviewed the file. This is enough to move, she said. Asset freeze, divorce filing, fraud concerns. But there is another problem. What? He is about to make the lie public. She forwarded me an invitation. Keller, Meridian Group. Private launch reception. The Jefferson Hotel. Strategic partnerships for a stronger defense future. Nathan had not invited me, but my name, my money, and my reputation were already in the room. I called Olivia. I know where this ends. She was quiet for a moment. Then we do it clean. Break time. The night of the launch, I wore my dress uniform. Not because I wanted to frighten him, because I wanted every person in that ballroom to see what he had tried to use without permission. My service, my credibility, my name. At the registration table, a young woman looked up. Name, ma'am? Colonel Grace Keller. Her fingers paused. You're not on the list. A voice behind me said, She is with me. I turned. Brigadier General Marcus Ellison stood beside me in dress blues, tall and calm, with the kind of presence that changed the temperature of a room. He had awarded me the Silver Star 12 years earlier. He had also reviewed my evidence before that night. General, I said. Colonel, he replied. Ready? I looked through the ballroom doors. Nathan stood near a display that read, Keller Meridian Group. He wore the navy suit I had once tailored for him before my promotion ceremony. His hand rested comfortably on Lauren's back. Lauren wore ivory, not a wedding dress. Close enough? Yes, sir, I said. I'm ready. We walked in together. The room did not go silent immediately. Rooms like that notice rank before they notice truth. First, someone recognized General Ellison. Then someone recognized me. Then Nathan saw us. His face changed in a way I will never forget. For 15 years, he had looked at me as tired, distant, too serious, too military. That night, for the first time, he looked at me like I was dangerous. Nathan crossed the room fast. Grace, he said through a tight smile, what are you doing here? Attending a launch built with my money and my name. This is not the place. No, I said. This is exactly the place. Lauren stepped closer. Nathan, what's going on? I watched him choose a lie. This is Grace, he said quickly. We used to work together. She has misunderstood some financial matters. We used to work together. The words were so insulting they almost became funny. General Ellison did not smile. I looked directly at Lauren. My name is Colonel Grace Keller. Nathan Keller is my legal husband. We have been married for 15 years. The room went still. Nathan lifted both hands. Grace is upset. This is a private marital issue. It became more than private, I said. When you used joint assets to finance this company, represented yourself as unmarried on a property purchase, and invited defense investors into a venture funded by deception. A man near the bar lowered his glass. Lauren stared at me, then at Nathan. No, she whispered. I opened the folder. Not with drama, with order. Our marriage certificate? I placed the copy on the table. The joint account withdrawal matching your engagement ring? Another page. The Virginia Beach property agreement listing Nathan as unmarried. Another page. The Keller Meridian Group operating agreement, including your equity clause upon marriage. Lauren's hand covered her mouth. Nathan reached toward the papers. General Ellison stepped forward. Do not touch those documents. Nathan stopped. He understood that tone. Break time. Lauren picked up the marriage certificate. I watched her read my name. Grace Amelia Keller, Nathan James Keller, 15 years earlier. Her face broke in pieces. Confusion, disbelief, horror, then shame that did not fully belong to her. You told me she left you, Lauren said. Nathan swallowed. Lauren, I can explain. You told me you were divorced. It was emotionally true. A cold sound moved through the crowd. Emotionally true. Only a desperate man could believe that phrase would hold up under the weight of a marriage certificate. One investor stepped forward. Mr. Keller, are the funding representations in your private materials tied to disputed marital assets? Nathan's mouth opened. Nothing useful came out. General Ellison spoke calmly. I am not making legal conclusions tonight, but any defense sector partner in this room should treat unresolved ownership claims, false marital representations, and disputed funding sources as serious material risks. That was the sound of a career breaking. Not a shout, not a punch, a sentence. Phones came out. Lawyers were contacted. Investors moved toward corners and exits. Lauren removed the ring. Her finger shook so badly it took 2 tries. Then she placed it on the table between them. I don't want this, she said. Lauren, please. You let me sit across from your wife and talk about marrying you. I was trying to protect you. She laughed once, and the sound was awful. You were protecting yourself. Then she turned to me. I'm so sorry. I looked at her for a long second. I believed her. I know, I said. She left the ballroom holding the copies I had given her. One by one, the investors followed. The event ended before the keynote began. Nathan's company collapsed under its own documents. I did not feel victorious. That is what people misunderstand about justice. When it comes, it does not always feel like winning. Sometimes it feels like standing in the ruins and realizing the person who burned the house was someone you once trusted with the key. Nathan turned to me when only a few people remained. You planned this. No, I said. You planned this. I documented it. His face twisted. You were never home. There it was, the final shelter of the guilty. Blame for years. I had carried guilt for deployments, late briefings, classified silence, and missed dinners. I had apologized for serving, as if duty were a personal insult to him. That night, the guilt finally lost its grip. I was serving, I said. You were stealing. He flinched. I closed the folder. My attorney will contact yours. Do not access the joint accounts. Do not use my rank, my record, or my name in any investor communication again. You can't order me around, he snapped. I'm not one of your soldiers. No, I said. My soldiers understood honor. That was the only cruel thing I said all night. I do not regret it. Break time. The next 3 months were not cinematic, but real justice is paperwork. Court filings, asset freezes, forensic accounting, emails from attorneys before sunrise, bank statements highlighted line by line, old photographs found in drawers and quietly put away. Olivia filed for an emergency asset freeze within 48 hours. Because our evidence was clean, the order came quickly. Nathan could not drain the accounts. The Virginia Beach purchase was halted. Keller Meridian Group was suspended pending ownership and funding review. Within 2 weeks, investors withdrew. Within 4, a defense contractor paused an advisory agreement with Nathan. Within 6, the lender requested corrected disclosures. Within 8, Lauren's attorney confirmed that she had been materially misled. Lauren sent me a letter. Colonel Keller, I do not expect forgiveness. I want you to know I did not know. I should have asked for documents sooner. I believed the story he told because I wanted it to be true. I am sorry for the pain my presence caused you. I will cooperate truthfully. I read it twice. Then I placed it in the file, not because I hated her, because truth belonged there too. Nathan's messages changed over time. First, apologies, then explanations, then accusations, then memories. Remember Maine? Remember our first apartment? Remember when you said we could survive anything? I did remember. That was the danger. Memory can become a battlefield if you let the wrong person choose the terrain. So I stopped replying. Every message went to Olivia. Every statement went to the accountant. Every lie became quieter when answered by procedure. The divorce hearing was smaller than the ballroom, but harder. Nathan looked older at the counsel table. So did I. But he still looked at me as if I had betrayed him by refusing to be betrayed quietly. His attorney argued that Keller Meridian Group was an independent venture. Olivia answered with documents. Joint withdrawals, company registration, pitch materials implying access to senior defense networks, the property document listing him as unmarried, the ring receipt, the event timeline. Facts do not need to raise their voices. By the end, the temporary freeze became permanent pending settlement. The Virginia Beach transaction was voided. The disputed money was recognized as marital property. Keller Meridian Group was effectively dead before it had ever lived. I kept the house in Alexandria, not because it was perfect, because my mother had planted a dogwood tree in the yard the year before she died. And I refused to let Nathan's lies take the last living thing she had left me. For a while, I thought peace would arrive as one grand moment, like a verdict. It did not. Peace came in small things. Sleeping through the night once. Opening the mail without fear. Walking into the kitchen without expecting to hear Nathan's voice. Looking at my own reflection in the hallway mirror and not seeing a woman who had been fooled, but a woman who had survived with her honor intact. That mattered more than I expected. Because betrayal does not only steal trust in another person, it tries to steal trust in yourself. I had to learn that loving someone who lied did not make me stupid. It made me human. What made me strong was what I did after the lie became visible. The final settlement came on a rainy Thursday. I recovered most of what Nathan had diverted. Not all of it. Betrayal is rarely generous enough to return everything it steals. But enough. Enough to repair the damage. Enough to prove the pattern. Enough to close the door. Keller Meridian Group dissolved quietly. Its website disappeared. The office lease was terminated. The branded launch display from the Jefferson Hotel was sold for parts. Nathan left Virginia. Reputation, I learned, travels faster than a forwarding address. Lauren transferred to another agency office. I heard she cooperated fully and consistently. I was glad in a distant way. Not glad for her pain, but glad she stepped out of the lie before becoming legally tied to it. As for me, I stayed. I stayed in the house, I stayed in uniform, I stayed myself. That was the victory no court could award. People ask why I did not expose him the first day. Why I let Lauren smile. Why I let Nathan call that night and pretend. Why I waited until the launch. until the room was full, until his lie had nowhere left to hide? The answer is simple. I had spent my adult life learning the difference between reaction and response. A reaction serves pain, a response serves purpose. If I had confronted Nathan on day one, he would have erased files, moved money, warned investors, blamed my stress, and told Lauren I was unstable. If I had screamed in that office, the story would have become my anger instead of his deception. So I waited. Not because I was weak. Because I had been underestimated before, and I knew silence is not surrender. Sometimes silence is reconnaissance. Sometimes calm is not forgiveness. Sometimes the quiet woman in the room is not confused, not broken, not afraid. Sometimes she is gathering every fact you thought she would be too emotional to find. And when she finally speaks, she does not need to shout. The truth carries. The last time I saw Nathan was in a courthouse hallway after the final signatures. He looked older. So did I. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he said, "You didn't have to ruin me." I looked at the man I had loved. The man I had defended in my mind long after he stopped deserving it. "No, Nathan," I said, "you ruined the lie. I only refused to live inside it." I walked away before he could answer. Outside, the rain had stopped. The pavement shone under the morning light, and for the first time in months, I did not feel like I was leaving something behind. I felt like I was returning to myself. Not loudly, quietly, completely, and that, in the end, was justice.